Hey friends, welcome back to another Field and Garden podcast. It is your friend Lisa Mason Ziegler, and I am pretty stoked that you have dropped in again to have a listen to what we have to talk about. And I am so thrilled to welcome back who has become a really good friend, Ellen Frost of Local Color Flowers in Baltimore, Maryland. Hi, Ellen.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here.
So Ellen and we met years ago at an Association of Specialty Cut Flower Growers conference. And to be all honest, so it was a time she was doing a breakout class and I didn't have any other classes that I wanted to go to. And I thought, I wonder what this is about, local sourcing or, I mean, that was my whole world. I had never stepped out. And so I went in and sat in the back of her classroom and was just hook, line, and sinker, just so mesmerized by what she was talking about. I mean, things like buying from local growers to do events. And back then, I don't think she still does this, one of her little features that she did for her married couples was she literally composted their flowers after their wedding. She, because florists have to go tear down, right? She would bring those flowers back, compost them, and a year later on their anniversary, she would give them the compost. I mean, she had me. Is that like crazy, Ellen? Was that your brainchild? Who thought of doing that?
Was, but it was not a thing that scaled very well once we were doing 100 or more weddings a year.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, but that's a good point. So that's how Ellen and I have met, and we became friends through the years. And I begged her for a long time to do a course for us, which she's done a couple of them now. And so that's made us become even better friends and peers and co-workers. And so we are here today. Ellen has launched a new blog, which first, Ellen, tell us, in case someone's never crossed your path before, tell us about your business. What is your business?
Sure. So I am the owner of Local Color Flowers. We are a floral design studio located in Baltimore, Maryland, and we source all of our flowers locally. So everything we use come from farms within 100 miles of Baltimore. And I usually say that we do all the things that a conventional florist does, but we do them with local flowers. So we do weddings, we do retail, we do events, we do subscriptions, single orders, classes, anything that a conventional florist does, we do too, but we do it with locally sourced flowers.
All right. So tell us so you have a new blog. Tell me how that was born and how that's going. And I want to hear what's behind the title of it.
So we started a new blog. We launched it over the summer. It's called the Vicarious Florist blog. And behind the name, we really the blog is about showing the behind the scenes of what it's like to be a florist. The good, the bad, the details, the ugly, all of it. Everything that Instagram doesn't tell you, we tell you on the blog. So there are journal entries, which are just day-to-day, what's happening today in the life of my floral shop and my floral business. And then there are longer form articles, which are more in-depth, sort of topical articles. And there's lots of videos. And in the future, hopefully there will be some classes, maybe some subscriptions. But it really is a way for people to, we always come across people who say, oh, it must be so great to be a florist. You have the best job in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Right, all the time. And so this is giving those people a little taste of what it's like to be a florist. And we're not holding anything back.
So I know that, was it last week or the week before? What was that catchy phrase? We were talking about poop weddings. What was that?
So that was an article about our top 10 wedding delivery disasters.
Oh my gosh.
And we have a list of 10, which if you go to the blog, you can read them. I will tell you that one very terrible delivery did include a lot of liquid poop.
Oh my gosh.
You can't make it up. You can't make this stuff up. This is the real behind the scenes. You know, everybody sees what you see on social media, and of course, weddings are beautiful and they're glamorous, but there are a lot of logistical things that go into them, and sometimes there are disasters.
So can people subscribe to your blog, or do they just need to come and visit every week, or how do they sign
Sure.
up for that?
Yep, they can go to vicariousflorist.com, and you can sign up for, put your email in, and then you'll get a regular email from us. But you can always go to the blog too and read the articles. But we do send out, hopefully we'll be sending out a weekly email. Right now we're on about a every 2 week schedule, but hopefully we'll be back onto a weekly schedule pretty soon. So yeah, I think it's really fun. We've had really good feedback from it. It's fun to share the things that our designers and Eric and I see on a day-to-day basis, which we haven't, had an opportunity to share really in the past. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's great. And I'll put that in the show notes. We'll put the
Yeah, that'd be
link
great.
directly to her blog. And so you can sign up to actually get that. So I've read that you are choosing to reduce your wedding work this year. And first off, how is that affecting the other aspects of your business? I mean, we
Yeah.
need to figure out what's behind all this.
So when we started the business, it's been 15 years ago now.
Wow.
We only did weddings. So weddings were the only thing we did. I had a full-time job. We did weddings on the weekends. And after a few years of doing that, I really liked it, and I really wanted to ditch my day job and do flowers full-time. And in order to do that, we really needed to ramp up weddings. And so, we couldn't just be doing one wedding a month or, 2 weddings a month. We really had to ramp those up. So when I quit my job, we really went gung ho on weddings, and it went great because we were really booking a ton of stuff. And we even got, I think, peak year, which was maybe 6 years ago, we were doing about 125 to 130 weddings a year.
Yikes.
So, and these were full service weddings. So this wasn't, micro weddings or elopements. These were full service weddings. And we had really little, we didn't have a lot of rules about like where we would go or what we would do. We just were taking everything. And what we found was not only was that very stressful, not only were the logistics of that very difficult, but we really also found that we were spending a lot of money to get those more weddings. So that meant, paying an extra team for that weekend. It meant renting another van for that weekend. It meant, all of the logistical things that cost money. We found that the margin really wasn't there to make that make sense. So we were doing more work for basically less money. And it took us maybe a year or two to really study that and parse out what the issues were. And what we found was, just staffing costs and transportation costs were eating up a lot of that margin. And so what we decided to do was cut back a little bit to just one team, one van, or, one van in my car for each event. So one wedding a day, one team, one vehicle.
Right.
And what we found, we were still doing 50, 60, 70 weddings, but the margins started to go up. So we found that we were starting to make more money doing less work, which is what everybody wants to do, right? So what we found, even as we moved further, is that, and COVID, when COVID started, that really all weddings were off, canceled, rescheduled, canceled again, rescheduled. And that time really gave us some time to think about really how we wanted to move forward with weddings, because what we were finding is that the demand that we were seeing was for bigger and bigger and bigger weddings. And so we had sort of like, there was like a crossroads. And I remember like so distinctly when Jenny came to this crossroads years ago. What she said was, I can either do lots of small things, or I can really make a go of more of a luxury brand, more of a brand that's seeking larger weddings. And that was the way she went. And I remember like very distinctly like that thought process. And for us, we this time decided we wanted to go in the other direction. We wanted to really focus again on smaller weddings, weddings that were closer to home, frankly, easier.
Yeah.
Um, and part of what drove that, I turned 50 this week, and
Happy birthday late.
thank you. Like the physical component of doing wedding work is
Mm.
a real thing. You are sometimes especially for weddings with big installs, you are out, on site for 10, 12, 14 hours. You're on ladders, you're carrying all kinds of things. Like trying to think of the long-term sustainability of this job for myself, and I just didn't see going bigger being the option. So after COVID, sort of calmed down and weddings started to come back, we just really made the decision internally to focus on smaller weddings, no installations, closer to home, basically like we used to do when we started. We've sort of come full circle. And I think it's the right decision for us. I think we're going to find that we are less stressed, that we have less physical wear and tear on our bodies, and that we can still make a good profit on it.
It's so funny that you say full circle. I have had that exact conversation with so many different professionals. It's like when I was talking to Lynn Bazinski, where it's like she and I were talking through this. I did the very same thing. I started out as a grower that just sold wholesale to florists. Then I put my fingers in all these other pies, which I mean, we did well, but I had, just like you said, a huge staff and everything that goes along with that.
Yes.
And then lo and behold, as I coming to the end of 2 decades, it's like, we're going back to where we started. And, I think there's something so smart about that, but it is so hard, Ellen. It's so hard to imagine that you can truly, I mean, everybody says it, work smarter, not harder. We can say that till the cows come home, but putting that into action is a whole, I mean, it's like changing any habit you have. You just, you feel like you need that safety net to catch you. I mean, when you're the one paying the bills and, you have all of these things, I mean, and I know that's you and that's me, to turn away work, to say, no, I'm sorry, we're not going to sell to you any more supermarket chain that bought 6 stores, all the bouquets we could give them. It's like over here, it's like, oh my gosh, take it. Over here, I'm saying, who's going to do it?
And I think for us, the biggest thing in this current change was saying that we weren't going to do installations, because installations have become sort of the norm of even middle-sized weddings. These aren't even like huge weddings anymore, but like almost every wedding request we were getting was, we want, a fully covered arch. We want hanging chandeliers of flowers. We want, there were all kinds of installations that require huge amounts of team members. You can't do that with 1 or 2 people.
Right.
You need 6, 8. We did a wedding last year, and we're a very small business. We did a wedding last year where we had a team of 15 people on site for 10 hours. And I know there are florists that thrive in that situation and are set up to handle that. We just really weren't. And while we loved, you know, it was very fun and it was like a challenge, it was just not the thing that we thought could be sustainable for us. And
Yeah.
so now the scariest part for me in this change was having to turn away weddings, which were people that we thought were a good fit for us. You know, they liked local, they were buying into everything. And they would say, well, just this time, could you do an arch? And I had to just keep saying, like, we don't do that anymore. We don't do that anymore. And it was so, it still is very difficult for me to turn people away in that way. And we had to really trust that we would find those smaller weddings, those more intimate weddings, those closer to home weddings. We had to trust that we would find those people. And we have. I mean, I knew we would, but it felt a little
Sure.
scary.
I mean, yes, so very much. So are you doing more of other things to make up for doing fewer weddings?
So that was the thing too, of course, because if we're reducing the number of weddings we're doing, if we're reducing the income from weddings, we have to figure it out somewhere. So we are still doing weddings. So, you know, we're still doing, I don't know, 40 plus weddings this year. So it's not like we're not doing any, they're just smaller. Um, and we are really ramping up. I mean, we already were, but we're really ramping up our sort of Saturday and Wednesday in the shop sales. So really trying to drive traffic to those days. And what that has allowed us to do, so we're open Wednesdays. I know these hours sound crazy when people hear this. We're open Wednesday from 3 to 7 for something called Flower Happy Hour. And we're open Saturday from 8 to noon for retail sales. So it's only 8 hours a week. We're open to the public 8 hours a week. But we really have ramped that up so that we can make the money we would be, you know, sort of the difference of what we're not making for weddings. It also allows us to continue to buy the same amount of flowers from our growers and to be even more flexible. This to me is, I think, the most exciting part, is that it allows us to be more flexible in the purchasing, because before, when we were just buying for weddings, everything was so specific. You know, it has to be pink, it has to be coral. And the growers would be saying, well, you know, but I have red dahlias that are perfect this week. And I'd say, well, you know, we can't use them. So now we just have much more flexibility where, you know, most of our work, most of our income is coming from daily deliveries, our subscriptions, and then our Wednesday and Saturday sales. So most of what we're doing during the week is really flexible, which allows the growers to be like, okay, here's the best stuff I have.
Right.
Thank goodness you don't need a specific color, because all these other florists need a specific color. So it has really been, I think, a good sort of trade-off, and has worked really well with the growers.
So I haven't ever heard you mention, do you do funeral casket sprays and stuff like that? Or
We don't. There's a couple reasons. I mean, one, most traditional funeral work is done with Oasis, and we don't use Oasis. And now there are all kinds of new
options?
Oasis alternatives. And so there are lots of florists who are pursuing funeral work using these new mechanics. And I think we just haven't yet. We've been using those mechanics a little bit, but we just haven't sort of reached out into that field yet.
Right.
You know, we send, you know, single orders to funeral homes, things like that, but no big casket sprays or anything like that.
The only reason I think of that, two of my big customers did big funeral work, and they were so well known for how greened up they just, because I know you're such a foliage fan.
Oh,
just
yeah.
how much foliage. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
casket covers were not the inexpensive ones that the average wedding gets.
Right.
I mean, the average funeral gets. And they did my mother's, and it was like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, you know, because it was mostly green and it was variety. And anyway, so I was just curious about that. So So I mean, that's really good to hear. So your volume of buying from growers, which is, where you get all of your supply
Yeah,
from, hasn't really changed, but yet the door is open.
totally. Yeah, we have not really seen any reduction. In fact, our purchases this year are of flowers are up 8% so far for the year. So we're buying more this year than we did last year from the growers, and being more flexible with what we're looking for. So that's great.
And that's got to take a load off of you.
Totally. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I mean, for so many reasons, we are always conscious, and so this is partly where the blog fits in too. We're always conscious about any pivot we make in the business and how that affects the growers, because so many of our growers, we are the biggest customer they have. And so any change that we make, we have to be really conscious about how that's going to affect them.
Right.
And we never do anything, rash. We always try to plan, at least a year ahead, so that if any change that we're making, they can plan for that too. And so, when we started the blog, we were thinking, okay, this can be a long-term plan. This could be a long-term, income producing project with classes and sponsorship, all the things that come with content creation. And what we loved so much about it is that it allowed us to still do all the things we were doing with the growers and not really negatively impact sort of our purchasing with them. And so we've been really conscious to try to keep that level of purchasing up while also, starting this new gig.
So 2023 is fewer weddings, smaller weddings, doing lots of new things. And so looking back, I was thinking about this. And so I wrote these notes to myself while I was waiting to come on. Looking back, is there anything that and Ellen I didn't ask her this before, so she's going to have to think it up. Is there anything when you look back that you say, I should have known that wouldn't work, or that was going to be a mess, or that was going to be a problem, or that was going to be potentially a disaster?
Oh God, of course. There's plenty of those things. I think that there's not a lot of talk in entrepreneurship about staying small. Everything is grow, grow, grow. Everything is take everything you can. There wasn't a lot of discussion about how to stay small, choose the things that, made the most sense to you, get really good at those things. Taking every single wedding that came across our door was not a good idea. It wasn't good for our bottom line. It wasn't good for, our staff. It just was not very good. So I wish somebody had said to me, you don't have to take everything that's out there. You don't have to take everything that comes across your plate. You can be, even early on, you can be a little choosy about what you're doing. I never heard that. I never internalized that kind of message. It was just always get bigger, get bigger, get bigger. And that just really wasn't, we're a lifestyle business. We're not growing to $1 million in revenue. We're a husband and wife team who have a team of 4 or 5 people, and we want everybody to, make enough money to have a nice lifestyle, and that's all we need.
As we just came off of Jenny Love's enrollment for her course, that's one of the things that a lot of her students, as I was interviewing them, mentioned, is that hearing somebody say exactly what you just said, you don't have to take them all. You can be choosy about what you're doing. And, that's something that I have I feel like, as I teach, particularly a lot of starting out flower
Mhm.
farmers, that, if you're a mom with a young family that's growing, how
Sure.
awesome would it be to create a little business that you could
Mhm.
either make a big mortgage payment once a year, or you could pay for your kids' private school installment payment or something. I mean, we get these visions of grandeur that
Mhm.
just take us away. And I mean, I often every year, I mean, I quit every year in November, quit my job, and then decide in December if we're going to continue go back to it.
Uh-huh.
And it's about, all right, what's the point? I mean, I just love the whole machine of business.
Yeah.
But it's like doing good, being able, there just really has to be a purpose for what you're doing. And you only get today.
Mhm.
And seize the moment, friends. I mean, it's like, because being in business is hard
Yes.
and you have to make tough decisions, and I think you have made some really, really great ones. So the other side of that question is, and then I'm gonna let you get off here. What did you think about something that you said, why didn't I do that sooner?
Oh
You know what
God.
I mean?
So many things. Why didn't I hire employees sooner? Why didn't I buy a building sooner? Why didn't we get a van sooner? It was like all these things that you had to put money up for, that we
Scary
were
stuff.
so scared to do. And even though you hear, the phrase like you have to spend money to make money, that just like, you can say that to me till you're blue in the face. The idea of buying a building or putting somebody on salary or buying a vehicle, those things are huge. Those are huge things that, for a risk averse person, were very scary. And after each of those decisions, I knew right away when we hired our first employee, Carling, I remember right away we were able to like double the amount of work that we could take. We
Yeah.
were giving much better customer service to our customers because I wasn't doing all things myself. As soon as we bought a building, we were like having class, there was a million things we could do to make money. Same with the van. Okay, so now you have a vehicle. Now you can deliver further away. You can deliver bigger weddings. You can, do all the things. And it was like each step, I know I had to be ready for them, but each one of them, I felt like we waited a little too long. And if we had just done it sooner, you know, I don't know, we would have had less stress if we had done it just a little bit sooner.
Yeah, we can all look back at those things, right?
Oh, yes.
So Ellen, thank you so much for chatting today, and loved hearing about how your business is continuing to evolve. And so friends there, if you are interested in hearing more from Ellen, this is, we've done several podcasts with her. I tell you, the one that is really, really interesting is episode number 130, which is the local color flowers, a design studio's year, month by month. We go
That
through
one
all the
was fun.
crops, what she is buying in Baltimore, which is
Mhm.
like, cold winters
Yeah.
in all year round. So the other episodes are episode 151, that's about the untapped market of florist sales, then 130 that I just told you about, and then there's number 124, how local color flowers is evolving, and that was about steps she did the year before. So Ellen, we just really appreciate you sharing that with us. And if you're interested in learning more about Ellen, Ellen is one of our instructors. She has 2 courses with us: growing your business with local flower sourcing, which is like Florist School Online. Those are for either florists or designers, and even beneficial to flower farmers, to how they can connect with local farmers and work with them and market, and the niche of doing that. And that course only enrolls once a year in November. And that'll be in the show notes as well. But Ellen even has a new course, an on-demand preparing to sell to florist, which has been a really well-received course by flower farmers on, I mean, who better to teach you what you need to know about selling to florists than a florist, right? So you can learn more about Ellen's courses over at thegardenersworkshop.com. We'd love to have you join in. And friends, if you want to just learn more about the work the Gardeners Workshop is doing, we have a huge library of online courses, big business schools, as well as on demand. Our online garden shop, lots of free resources, our blog, our podcasts. We just invite you. This is your invitation to kind of go over and fall in, especially as we're heading into winter. We're recording this in October. So Ellen, I appreciate you being here, and I hope you'll come back again really soon.
I will. Thank you so much for having me.
Till we meet again, friends. Ciao. Friends, I just wanted to take a minute to share another testimonial from Ellen Frost's course, Florist School Online, Grow Your Business with Local Flower Sourcing, because I feel like this course is one of the best kept secrets. It's a missing piece of the pie, and this is what Zoe has to say about it. Ellen's passion for using local flowers is contagious, and her teaching style is engaging. She provides so many real-life examples from her own business experience that illustrates the concepts that she's presenting. Her business model of supporting local businesses and community engagement with her flower people is awe-inspiring to me. Ellen's course provided the knowledge and the tools to be an expert in your florist/farmer/farmer florist business. I am a micro flower farmer specializing in dahlias and heirloom flower varieties, and I gained so much knowledge about the floral industry. I am drilling down on who my people are and how I can be the floral expert they turn to for the quality flowers. Thank you, Ellen.